For decades, the galaxy had been calling Earth. Every major civilization in the Orion Arm had sent invitations, transmissions, even probes, all asking for the same thing: join the Galactic Council. But Earth never replied. Not a single signal came back, not even an acknowledgement. At first, the Council thought humanity was primitive, too weak or too distracted by its own problems, but the last Earth transmissions they intercepted showed advanced ships, energy weapons, and colonies on Mars. That was 200 years ago. And since then, silence in the halls of the Galactic. Council, silence meant danger. No one ignored the Council unless they were hiding something. The Zarth Dominion, proud reptilian beings, called it arrogance. The Ninth Confederacy whispered that humans were extinct. But the elder species, the ancient Vailthar, said something different. "They are waiting," the Vailthar whispered, their voices trembling. "Humans only speak when the stars themselves go silent." Then, one day, something happened. A patrol fleet belonging to the Zarth Dominion vanished near Sol System. 17 ships, gone. No distress signals, no debris, only static. Within hours, every government in the galaxy was watching that empty corner of space. The Council held an emergency session. "We cannot ignore this," said High Chancellor Korvek, pounding his clawed hand on the table. "Earth silence is not peace. It's a warning." 3 days later, they sent a fleet, 1,000 ships from 27 worlds, led by Admiral Neitha of the Confederacy. Their mission was simple: reach Earth, open communications, and if humanity refused to answer, force them to. As they jumped into Sol System, the fleet found what they had been looking for. Earth, blue, quiet, untouched. But the sensors showed something else. Hundreds of massive objects in orbit, motionless but armed, surrounding the planet like a ring of fire. "Unidentified contacts," one officer shouted. "They're everywhere." Admiral Neitha's voice trembled. "Identify them," the AI replied in a cold tone. "Designation confirmed. Human warships. Estimated count, 1,000. The bridge went silent. For centuries, the galaxy had begged humanity to answer. Now humanity had, and their answer was warships. A voice crackled over the communication channel. "This is Earth Defense Command," it said, calm and powerful. "The galaxy called. We are ready to respond." The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, because when Earth finally spoke, the galaxy listened. The galactic fleet floated in silence above the blue world. Earth shimmered beneath them, calm and untouched. A jewel of oceans and clouds. But above it, 1,000 warships drifted like silent predators, each one alive with quiet menace. Admiral Neitha stood on the bridge of her flagship. Eyes locked on the holographic display, no one spoke. No one dared breathe too loudly. Every sensor reading confirmed the same impossible truth. Those ships were human, and yet they were unlike any human designs the galaxy had ever recorded. The ships were sleek, black as obsidian, covered in strange glowing runes and hull patterns that pulsed like living veins. Each one emitted an energy signature far beyond anything known to the Council. Even the most advanced alien dreadnoughts could not match the raw power radiating from a single human vessel. "Try again," Neitha ordered, her voice shaking. "Send another message." Her comms officer hesitated, then activated the transmission. "This is Admiral Neitha of the Galactic Council Fleet," she said, her tone steady but cold fear beneath it. "We come in peace, seeking dialogue with the planet Earth." For a long moment, nothing came. Only the hum of static and the quiet blinking of stars. Then the signal came alive again, a deep male voice, emotionless and absolute, filled every speaker across the fleet. "This is Commander Elias Kane, Earth Defense Command. You were warned to keep your distance. Your fleets have crossed into restricted space. Your presence is considered hostile." The words sent a chill through every alien heart. Even Neitha felt her chest tighten. "We are not here to fight," she said quickly. "We are here to understand, to make peace." The voice on the other end paused, then replied, "Peace was offered centuries ago, when you ignored our calls. Now you want to speak only because you fear what we've become. The communication..." "Cut." Neitha's bridge filled with nervous whispers. One of her officers leaned close. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Her claws trembled. "Hold position," she said. "Do not engage." Then, one by one, the human ships began to move. No thrusters, no visible engines. They simply glided, forming patterns that looked almost deliberate. The formation surrounded the Galactic fleet, not with aggression, but precision, like a hunter circling prey. Suddenly, the stars dimmed, a dark shadow passed across the sun, and from behind Earth's moon, something larger appeared. Something that made even the warships look small, a single vessel, longer than a continent, glowing with a crimson aura. The human flagship, its presence bent gravity, pulled at the hulls of alien ships. Every system flickered, sensors failed, communication scrambled, and then, through the static, a single transmission broke through. "Earth does not seek war," the voice said, deeper, colder now. "But if the galaxy wants to test humanity's silence, they will learn what that silence has built." The Galactic fleet began to retreat, but hyperspace drives refused to engage. Something in the human ship's energy field was locking them in place, trapped, powerless, surrounded by 1,000 silent guardians of Earth. For centuries, the galaxy had ruled by counsel and fear. But now, fear had a new name: humanity. The Galactic fleet was trapped. Their engines hummed uselessly. Hyperspace drives locked by invisible force fields. Panic rippled through the command decks of 1,000 ships. They had come to demand an answer, but now they were prisoners in orbit of the silent world. Admiral Neitha stood frozen at the center of her bridge. Her eyes stared at the massive crimson flagship beyond her viewports. It didn't move, didn't speak, didn't threaten. It simply existed. Like a god that didn't need to prove its power, her communications officer whispered, "Admiral, we're detecting something new." Neitha turned. "Report." The A officer swallowed hard. "Multiple signals approaching from deep space. Not from Earth, from outside the system." The holographic map flickered, revealing faint blue signatures. Dozens, then hundreds, moving fast. Neitha's breath caught. "More human ships?" But the AI answered before anyone else could. "Negative," it said, voice shaking. "Unknown origin. Design similar to old Earth colonial ships, but modified. Extremely advanced." Neitha frowned. "Old Earth colonies? That's impossible. Those records were lost." The officer looked at her, eyes wide. "Then who are they?" The red flagship moved at last. Its colossal shadow passed across the stars, and as it turned, it projected a massive image into the void. A human, face calm and weathered, eyes glowing faint blue. "This is Marshal Aiden Holt," the voice said, "commander of the Outer Colonies fleet. 2 centuries ago, we left the Milky Way to survive what your council created." Neitha's mind spun. "Left the galaxy? That's impossible," the human continued. "You hunted us. You called it regulation, containment of a violent species. But we survived beyond your borders, beyond your reach. And while you debated in your council chambers, humanity evolved." Every alien captain felt the weight of those words. Humanity didn't just grow stronger. They became something else. The hologram flickered again, showing an image of vast shipyards orbiting distant suns, planets terraformed in colors unseen, and fleets, endless fleets, of human vessels larger than any known superstructure. They had built an empire in exile. Admiral Neitha whispered, "Why return now?" Marshal Holt's hologram turned, as if looking straight at her. Because you came looking, he said quietly. And because the galaxy is dying. Your wars, your greed, your silence, it's all collapsing. We watched from the dark, waiting for the right moment to return. Suddenly, an explosion of light erupted in the distance. A shock wave rippled through the fleet. One of the council ships disintegrated instantly. Screams echoed across the comms. "Who fired?" Nitha shouted, but no one had. The human flagship powered up its systems. "We warned you," Holt said, voice colder now. "You brought the war here." From the darkness, the new arrivals, the outer colony's fleet, took position beside. Earth's defenders, thousands of ships aligning with perfect precision, forming a wall of light around the planet. And then, Earth itself began to change. The blue oceans darkened, the continents glowed faint gold. A massive energy field surrounded the planet. Not as a shield, but as a signal. Every human ship, every human colony, every hidden outpost across the stars was awakening. The galaxy had thought humanity was gone, but humanity had never been silent. They were only waiting for the stars to grow quiet enough to hear their own voice again, and that voice, when it spoke, shook the galaxy. The fleets hung motionless around Earth, 1,000 alien vessels caught in a sea of human steel. Every captain, every soldier, every watching world felt the same cold truth settle inside them. Humanity had not returned to talk. They had returned to remind the galaxy what silence could build. Admiral Nitha tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Every sensor was screaming, every alarm flashing red. Energy readings from Earth were rising, higher than any star core reactor ever recorded. It was as if the planet itself was awakening on. The main display, the image of Marshal Aiden Holt, reappeared, his eyes glowing brighter than before. "You wanted to understand our silence?" he said slowly. "You called it arrogance. But silence was survival. While your empires burned each other for power, we built something beneath your gaze." Then, Earth changed again. From orbit, continents shifted in faint patterns of light, circuits of ancient geometry. Cities glowed like runes, oceans pulsed with faint golden energy. Earth was no longer a world, it was a machine. The galactic fleets watched in horror as energy threads spread outward, across the moon, across Mars, across every human structure in the Sol system. The solar system itself was transforming into one colossal network. Alive and aware, Nitha whispered, "They're not just defending, they're activating something." The AI confirmed it, its voice breaking with distortion. "Energy readings match no known form. This is not technology. This is planetary consciousness," Marshal Holt spoke again. "You think humanity is one species," he said, "but Earth is more than humans. For eons, she watched us grow. She gave us life. And when we nearly destroyed her, she learned. Now she remembers." The human flagship turned slowly, releasing a single beam of light that extended across the black void. It touched one of the alien ships. Not to destroy it, but to show, within the beam, holograms appeared, visions of ancient wars, the first galactic purge, the enslaved human colonies, the Council's secret decrees to erase Earth from records. Nitha's crew watched in silence as the truth unfolded. Their own empires were guilty. Humanity had not been silent out of pride, but out of pain, out of betrayal. Then the energy around Earth shifted again. This time it wasn't defense, it was expansion. The system pulsed once, and a shockwave of pure light burst outward. It spread past the moon, past the orbit of Mars. Reaching the edge of the system, and as it expanded, it carried something with it. A signal. Every human gene, every colony, every lost child of Earth across the stars heard it. They all turned their eyes toward home. The long silence between the stars was broken. and humanity's scattered children began to move. From the galactic rim to forgotten nebulae, human fleets hidden for centuries activated. Some were old, relics. From the first exodus, others were new, forged in secret stations beneath alien suns, all of them answering the same call, the voice of Earth. The Galactic Council's communication lines overflowed with panic, dozens of species demanding answers, demanding someone to stop this awakening. But it was already too late. In the heart of the Sol system, Earth spoke one final time. Her voice carried through every channel, soft yet infinite. "You feared our silence," she said, "but our silence was mercy. Now you will see what humanity becomes when the silence ends." The sky burned gold, and the galaxy, for the first time in its long history, truly trembled. The golden light from Earth's awakening spread through the void like a living storm. It rolled past Jupiter, past the edge of the solar system, and into the deep, forgotten reaches of space. Every ship, human or alien, felt it in their hulls. A vibration, a heartbeat, a pulse of ancient memory. Admiral Nytha gripped the edge of her command chair. The Council fleet's sensors had stopped reading anything understandable. No radiation, no energy type matched known science. It wasn't light. It wasn't sound. It was something older, something alive. In the shadows of her bridge, her AI flickered back to life, its voice distant and distorted. "Admiral," it whispered, "something is answering the signal from beyond mapped space." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean beyond?" "Outside the galaxy," the AI replied. "Something ancient is stirring." On the other side of the fleet, humanity's ships began to align again, thousands of warships turning their cannons toward empty space, not toward the aliens, but toward the darkness beyond the stars. Even Marshal Holt's voice was quiet now. "Stay where you are," he warned the Council fleet. "This isn't about you anymore." And then the stars blinked. For a heartbeat, the night itself vanished. A massive rift opened far beyond the galactic rim, swirling with colors no eye had ever seen. From that rift came shapes, titanic, metallic, ancient beyond imagining. Nytha gasped. "What are they?" Holt's face hardened. "The first builders," he said. "The ones who made the galaxy before any of us existed. They were thought extinct, buried in myth. But they heard Earth's call. Because they made her, the fleet fell, silent. The beings moved slowly, each one the size of a moon, their forms shifting like molten metal. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They only looked toward Earth, as if recognizing an old creation returning to consciousness, one of. The alien admirals whispered in terror. "You mean Earth wasn't natural?" Holt turned, his expression grim. "No," he said. "She was built by them, long before humanity ever walked her soil. She was a cradle, a forge, a seed of life meant to awaken when the galaxy was ready. But the galaxy had become corrupt. War, slavery, fear. So Earth stayed silent, and humanity became her voice, her weapon, her shield. The rift expanded again. Energy waves tearing through distant star systems, planets crumbled, stars dimmed, communications died. And through the chaos, one single message echoed across every channel. In an ancient, forgotten language translated by no system. It said only this: "The garden wakes, the harvest begins." Holt's face turned pale. "That's not a warning," he said. "That's a countdown." The human ships began to reconfigure, their shapes shifting as if responding to the message, each one glowing with a new pattern of symbols, the same ones now forming across Earth's continents. The ships weren't just weapons anymore. They were keys, Nytha's voice broke. "Marshal Holt, what are you unlocking?" Holt's eyes flickered with faint golden light. "The truth," he said quietly. "And maybe the end of everything we knew." Suddenly, the Galactic fleet's sensors screamed. From every direction, new signals appeared, human fleets returning. From across the stars, millions of ships answering the call. The lost colonies, the forgotten outposts, the survivors of extinction, all coming home. The galaxy was no longer the Council's. It belonged to Earth. And Earth had just begun to remember what she truly was. The rift above the galactic rim burned like a wound in the night. Light bled from it in long golden ribbons that twisted and fell across the stars. Every ship in orbit, human, alien, or machine, stood still, watching the impossible unfold, and deep below, Earth's surface pulsed again, like a living heart remembering its own birth. Marshal Holt's voice echoed through the human networks. "Hold your positions," he ordered, calm but heavy with fear. "This is no longer a war of fleets. It's a war of memory." Admiral Neitha listened. From the Council flagship, her claws trembling against the command table, the images from her sensors made no sense. Space itself was folding, not tearing. The energy was rewriting reality, bending it around Earth's orbit. Stars flickered where they shouldn't exist. Planets appeared, then vanished again. The universe was rearranging itself around the cradle that had awakened. Her science officer turned toward her, pale and shaking. "Admiral, these readings, it's like time is looping." Neitha swallowed. "You mean we're trapped?" "No," the officer said. "It's worse. We're being rewritten." In that moment, every human ship in the system began to hum, a low, synchronized resonance, as if the ships themselves were singing, and from the great red flagship of Marshal Holt came a beam of light. It struck Earth, and Earth answered. The glow spread across the continents once more, but this time, something rose from beneath the crust. Ancient structures, black and silver, older than civilization itself. Cities that had been buried under oceans and mountains now stood in the open, and above them, in orbit, space shimmered as titanic constructs materialized. Rings, towers, and platforms connecting ship to planet, planet to sun, Admiral Neitha whispered. "They're rebuilding the network," her AI responded. "Correction, Admiral. They are rebuilding the galaxy." Marshal Holt looked out at the rift, his voice heavy with awe. "The Makers built this place once, and when they left, they hid their knowledge inside Earth. We were never meant to rule the stars," he said softly. "We were meant to awaken them, but something was wrong. The light from Earth was pulsing faster, brighter, more violent. Alarms flared across the human fleet. Power overloads, structural instability, temporal fractures. Earth's awakening was accelerating beyond control. Holt slammed his fist into the console. "Shut it down! Contain the core before it consumes the system!" But his engineers shouted back, "We can't! The planet's neural field has gone autonomous!" Then the sky cracked. A massive silhouette emerged from the rift. Not like the Makers, but something darker, sharper, broken. Its body was made of shattered geometry, a creature of light and void. It was a remnant of the first builders, twisted by time, a fragment that had refused to die. Neitha stared in horror. "What is that thing?" Holt's voice came through her speakers, low and grim. "The Makers had enemies," he said. "They weren't gods. They were rebels. And this is what they feared most." The creature moved, and every ship's systems froze. Its voice wasn't sound. It was pressure. It was thought. "You woke the garden," it said, "but the harvest was ours." A wave of darkness spread through the fleet, shutting down every reactor, every weapon, every defense. Even the stars seemed to dim. Holt looked up, face lit by the dying glow of his ship's console. "If that thing reaches Earth," he said quietly, "it won't just end humanity. It'll erase everything that came after." The alien fleets, terrified and powerless, could only watch. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't the threat. Humanity was the only line left between creation and extinction. Earth's surface erupted with golden fire. A single pulse burst from her core, bright enough to outshine the sun. And in that light, the voices of 1 billion human minds whispered together, "Not again." The stars flared, the shadows screamed, and the galaxy waited for the light to fade. The light faded slowly, not disappearing but changing. It hung in the void around Earth like a living fog, swirling with faint echoes of voices. The alien fleets drifted silently, their hulls scorched and their systems half dead, and humanity's ships, thousands of them, stood motionless in formation, every vessel pulsing with the same heartbeat as the planet below. Marshal Holt stood at the command window of the Eye. Crimson flagship. His hands trembled, not from fear but from understanding. The enemy that had emerged from the rift, the twisted remnant of the first builders, was not gone. It was watching, learning, adapting. And Earth, glowing with the energy of a world awakened, was preparing for something even greater. Admiral Nitha watched from her crippled council flagship. The air around her hummed with static as her AI flickered back to life. "Admiral," it whispered, "Earth's frequency is merging with the stellar field." She frowned. "What does that mean?" The AI hesitated. "It means the planet is connecting to the stars themselves." The view outside confirmed it. Thin lines of golden light stretched from Earth into the void, connecting to distant suns, one after another. Each connection flared brighter until entire constellations were linked in a vast web of living fire. Marshal Holt spoke softly. "The Makers designed her as the core. Earth was never just a world. She's the ignition key of creation." The alien fleets finally began to understand this was not humanity's weapon. This was the galaxy's origin, reawakening after 1 billion years of sleep. But then, the darkness moved. The shadow that had slipped through the rift was no longer a shape. It had spread into the web of stars, feeding on the light. The connected suns began to flicker, one by one. The galaxy dimmed as something vast began to devour it from within. Alarms screamed across the human networks. "We're losing stellar links," a voice cried. "It's consuming the grid." Marshal Holt turned to his crew, eyes burning with determination. "Then we burn it out," he said. "Every ship, link with Earth, full synchronization." The captains obeyed without hesitation. One by one, the warship's cores opened, and threads of golden light connected them directly to the planet. Energy surged, not as power, but as will. The human fleets became extensions of Earth's mind, and Earth herself awakened fully. A voice filled the void, soft, ancient, maternal. It spoke not through radios or sensors, but through the stars. "I am the memory of the garden. You, my children, are its keepers." Every human heart across the galaxy felt it. Every survivor, every lost colony, every outcast child of Earth. They all heard her call, and they answered. Their ships lit up like suns. Their voices merged into one chorus of defiance. The darkness recoiled, the rift screaming as it tried to pull back. The twisted builder fragment cried out, a sound like the breaking of universes. "You cannot erase us," it howled. "We made you." Earth's voice grew stronger. "Then you should have made us better." The human fleets unleashed everything they had, not missiles, not plasma, but pure thought, memories of pain, of love, of war, of peace. Humanity's entire history became light. It tore through the void, burning the corruption from the web of stars. For a heartbeat, the entire galaxy turned white. When the light faded, the rift was gone, the shadow was gone, and the stars shone brighter than they ever had before. Admiral Nitha looked out. Tears. In her eyes, the web of golden light still shimmered faintly, every linked star now pulsing with a quiet rhythm. A heartbeat. Earth had not destroyed the enemy. She had rewritten reality itself to erase its existence. Marshal Holt exhaled slowly. The crimson flagship was silent now, its power drained. He looked down at Earth. "She's alive," he whispered, "and she remembers us." The galaxy was reborn. The Council fleets drifted quietly, humbled. For the first time in known history, every species looked toward Earth not as a threat, but as the center, the heart of everything that lived and would ever live. The voice of Earth faded into the stars one last time. "Sleep now, my children," she said. "The silence has ended, and the stars will never forget your name again." And in the deep quiet that followed, the stars pulsed in unison, as if the universe itself had learned to breathe again